Hello, this is First Fire Non-Assault Move. Welcome back to episode 26 Bravo in the War in the East series. Let's get a situation report. I'll quickly point out that it is 18 June, and our last video where we left off, it was 28 May, and I bet you can't guess what we're going to talk about. Yes, weather. From 28 May to 18 June, we have had mud conditions. We look at the weather zones. Central Soviet zone has been mud, North Soviet zone mud. We've had a little section, South Soviet zone. This section where our front falls upon is a tiny patch here up in Army Group North's area of operations. This little tiny neck of land, and then if we go and travel south, we have a larger stretch of land where we have solid ground, but it's largely occupied by our Axis miners up to, let's make sure we, Kirovograd. Just south of Kirovograd, we have some solid ground and clear terrain. So one of the turns, it was complete mud across all three Soviet zones. And two of the turns, we had this little stretch of the South Soviet zone solid ground. On the topic of weather, let's take a quick look. So we said at the very beginning we weren't going to use historical weather, so I couldn't predict exactly what the weather is going to be. That's a little bit of an advantage, and we could plan accordingly. So we selected random weather, and I looked at random weather a little bit in the early going. Having to endure mud all the way up into late June was just too much, so I had to dig a little deeper, and this is what we found. So this is the random weather determination table. There's some initial caveats here. With random weather, there will be at most one snow turn per weather zone in December and January. So at most, there'll be one snow turn. So obviously we know if we're in January, at most it'll be snow, but the rest of the turns will be blizzard. And more than likely, mud will be here in December or blizzard as well in December. Next, there will be at most one mud turn per weather zone during the turns from 19 June to 30 September. So that's good. At most one mud turn. So during that stretch, we will only experience mud on one turn. I have to see it to believe it. Mud has been on my mind. It seems every time the Soviets end their turn, it becomes I behold mud on the map. So there will be at most one mud turn weather zone during turns 0 December to 31 March. It's hard for me to believe this. Most of the turns here were either blizzard or snow. We did experience that one mud turn after we entered 1942. So here is the randomness of our random weather. A die roll is made for each turn within the months, January through December. Whatever we get for a die roll, that is the weather we will have for that turn. So I'll have you take a look for a second here and see what jumps out to you. Immediately, I looked for clear weather because that's what we want, right? That's what we want. Look how few clear weather turns we'll actually have during the course of a full year. So this is very eye-opening, and I would say slightly demoralizing. We only have this small, like narrow band in a year where we'll have conditions which are ideal for an offensive. Really, we're looking at mostly three months. 3 months to actually have weather where we can conduct an offensive. 3 out of 12 months. I didn't look at it. This is the first I'm really examining this chart. I was like, oh my God, is this a bug? Why do I have mud in the third week of June? But it's actually built into the game. We can take a look. Here's June. And we have an opportunity to have 9 out of 15, a die roll 9 through 15. We could have clear, but there's some caveats. Also, from the first week of June to the third week of June, we use May's weather column on the random weather chart. That greatly, well, it cuts our chances to have clear weather in June almost in half. We have there's 5 chances, 1 through 5 out of a dice roll 15, we could have clear weather in May. And I think we had 1 turn in May, so we rolled pretty poorly. All the other rolls were either mud or snow. So in June, we were using May, so obviously we didn't have the greatest chance to get clear. We had a chance. We could have got lucky, but we were unlucky. And now we have mud all the way up into the third week of June. Next turn, it will not be the third week of June. We'll be past the 19th of June. So we'll actually use June's column. Still, there's a small chance we'll get mud, but you know what? The luck we are having, I have a sinking suspicion that we're going to get mud again. July, we will have clear weather with 1 chance of mud. What are the odds that we get mud, at least for 1 turn in July? Because we're rolling what? We're going to only roll 1 more week in June, but we'll be rolling 4 times for July, the 4 weeks. So 4 rolls, are we going to roll a 10? I don't know. August, same thing. 4 opportunities to roll a 10. September, there's a couple more opportunities to get some mud, and then very slim chance we'll have clear in October. You know what? I think we had at least 1 or 2 turns of clear in October, didn't we? I have to go back and look. But I know mud hit right as the Grand Encirclement was happening. And then we had snow, and then immediately it was snow again, and then we hit the blizzards in December. Hardcore. Nothing we can do about it. It's going to be some luck involved. Our odds are are pretty good to have clear weather for 3 months. 3 months out of an entire year will have conditions suitable for an offensive. We can attack in snow. We have attacked in snow, and we've had successful results. But it's not ideal. Not ideal at all. And blizzards, well, we won't be under the special 1941 winter rule any longer, but we'll still be hamstrung in blizzards. Not offensive weather. So yeah, this is an incredible constraint upon the Germans. Let's get back to the game. So we know we have mud, and next turn, more than likely we're going to have clear. So we did attack in the small sector of land here. We drove the Soviets back, still trying to push up, take Tallinn, and establish the front here up at the Gulf of Finland down to the Peipus Lake. Very similar, almost identical frontage that we had at the end, our high water mark in 1941. Haven't had any opportunity. Well, yeah, all across the front we had no opportunity to attack and make any gains. The front looks almost identical as it did when we ended our 28 May turn. Let's take a quick peek. Really no change whatsoever. We haven't even really started the German 1942 offensive. We were talking shaping operations, but I thought it would be obviously on a much more significant scope. Small encirclement, just two small encirclements, less than 20 Soviet divisions did we destroy, and we had no opportunity to achieve anything greater than that because for the last 3 weeks we've had mud. The Axis miners, we did attack a few places, and so did the Soviets. They attacked, and I think they did rout one or two of our Axis miners when they stacked up 9 divisions on one of our hexes. They had a good result there. But we managed to have a little push here in this sector to put some pressure from the north on where the Soviets are building up and beating on our Axis miners. And I'm going to try with 11th Army to roll up this part of the front and try to break it open a little bit because there aren't very many operational reserves this far south on the front. And I've been using airdrops, used every available plane because we're not attacking. Might as well put those aircraft that can carry supplies to use. The plan still is to have our main axis of advance south of Smolensk and just north of Bryansk. So the Soviets have survived in this pocket, awaiting clear weather, where we will finish them off. All right, so from the north, just attacking here, still pushing up Talonin, no change. We know our axis of advance will be within this area of operations for Army Group Center and the north part of, you could say, well, there are a number of previous Army Group South formations up here. And this again is a little bit of a vulnerable stretch. And we've strengthened this part of the front, which was looking a little thin, with a lot of Axis miners, the Hungarians, and a couple of our own German reinforcements. We railed them in. So I don't have too much concern here, but again, we don't have the combat power to do any damage to the Soviets. Maybe take advantage if they overreach and have a counterattack and get behind them and get a smaller encirclement, maybe 3 to 6 to 9 divisions. That's wishful thinking. Down here, this is another remain in place part of the front where we mass our 11th Army and the 3rd Panzer, which has been reinforced. I did assign 3rd Panzer now has 5 divisions assigned to it. A couple of these infantry divisions that you see here were railed in. So we have a little bit of a punch that we can apply south and east, just south of Kirovograd. That, again, we'd like to roll up this portion of the Soviets' front once finally 11th Army can get off to a start. And I believe we have enough combat power with our infantry divisions and 3rd Panzer to cause some damage and concern, because the Soviets are bending now, but we will be able to at least force withdrawals and maybe get some routed, shattered combat resolutions among these forces here, just north, where the Soviets have built up attacking our Axis miners. Our rail system is still looking pretty decent. I have 5 manually controlled railroad repair engineer units that are just reacting to where the partisans land. And these little orange blemishes, they're repairing the rail lines, but it's a relatively healthy, I would say a healthy logistical system right now with our railroad network. And our reinforcements are making full use of the now back to normal railroad capacity. We did our rail movement, and it's still at 12,000. We don't have anyone else to move, so we have that left over. We received another infantry division this turn, and I believe a couple. Well, we can see. We can look at that info screen. We received the 371st. Oh, yes, I wanted to point this out. 8th Italian Army arrived. So I went and found them. Turn this off. Turn our units back on. Here they are. They appeared down on this board edge far to the west. We use a railroad. Because these are lighter divisions, not as much men and material and equipment, no vehicles, not many vehicles, not much armor. No armor, actually, amongst these. Oh, actually, 24. I don't believe those are probably tanks, probably just representative vehicles. With our rail capacity, we're able to get all these Italian divisions all the way up here. And we left 15 or 16 movement factors to each of these divisions so we can get them off the rail so that we'll free up our rail capacity next turn. So they are going to arrive, and we know that the Italians cannot go any further north from this line, Axis Ally Limit line. So they're going to join their brothers, their Italian brothers, in this sector and help strengthen this extended part of the southern sector of Army Group Center. And that's the plan. Again, couldn't do anything for 3 turns. Very, very damaging to our goals and aspirations of getting a crippling blow in 1942. We'll have 3 months to do it. 3 months to accomplish something significant and damaging to the Soviets so that going into 1943, we have a shot at winning the war. The plan will not deviate. We will continue to seek opportunities to destroy Soviet formations where we have that chance. We inched forward some of our airfields so that they can provide a little better support, have some better reach. It's going to be a very difficult opening to our offensive when it does kick off again. If we could even say that it was an offensive back in May, which it really wasn't. Had I looked at that weather table, would I have changed things? Maybe. I very well may have changed. Because I thought the way the Soviets were positioned, I would have a pretty good chance to get a larger encirclement after a couple weeks and looking good for us in the early weeks of June. But that's not the case, and that's not a possibility based off the weather. So I just might have looked a little harder to the south, where the Soviets are a lot more vulnerable, and we could really do some damage. And although strategically it wouldn't be bad to take these cities and extend our front all the way up to Rostov potentially, and not have the combat power in Army Group centers as it is now, our gains would be far more limited than we're expecting once solid ground hits. But yet, we would have an opportunity to do a lot of damage with a far weaker Soviet force down here in comparison to the forces we have arrayed here. So yeah, knowing that weather table, it might have changed my plans. But that's hindsight. This is the card that's been dealt to us, and we will carry on once solid ground arrives, clear skies arrive. We're fueled up. We have a lot of supplies built up. Take a look at the condition of our divisions at the front, our attacking infantry divisions, all at 100%, looking pretty good. Our panzer divisions here, where we had achieved this small encirclement, And when mud hit, a couple of them were out of supply a little bit, and we're stacked up so much I can't even reach some of these Panzer divisions with command and control and supply from my headquarters. So I've just been trying to drop fuel to them. So we're pretty low across the board in this part of the front here, where we linked up to encircle the small group of Soviets. But overall, our supply situation is not bad. Consequently, the Soviet supply situation is very good as well. So that is the situation report to date, third week of June. Leave, I am ready to hit next turn. That's the other thing I wanted to do. There is nothing left to move or attack or double check because I've already done it. I don't know how many times. We know because of mud, our command and control range is reduced to about 3 hexes, and that's even compounded once you go over rivers and major rivers and through woods. Any kind of terrain hindrance affects the distance from where we can achieve our supply route, our supply back to our core headquarters, to our divisions. So let's do it. Let's hit next turn. And let's pray for solid ground in the last week of June. My poor Finns up there, they've just been sitting there for the whole war so far, the whole war in the East. They aren't getting any help from the Germans trying to take Leningrad. Maybe 1943, we don't know. There's a lot that can happen from now until then. I expect some attacks on our Axis miners in the south, but no attacks in the mud from the Soviets. Partisans have been applied to the map. You can see there. But I have my partisan hunters fanned out across the breadth of the map. And I think every turn now I can... Oh wow, they try to attack our 11th Army. Well, good luck to that. Wow. They feel pretty confident there. I see an opportunity. Yep. They routed one of our Axis miners, pushed him back. It's been a little back and forth. The Romanians have gotten their pound of flesh. We've made the Soviets retreat here and there, down in this sector where it's remained solid ground. But it's a back and forth, and as long as the Soviets remain down there, if we can deal with this buildup, look at that, quite a buildup. There's a 1% chance. Well, I don't want to say 1%. I don't even know what the percent. What's the percentage 1 through 15? A 15th chance that we may have mud the last week of June? Oh my God, I shouldn't have said anything. Dear God. Oh, I don't even want to look. Are you kidding me? Look at that. Again. What is going on? Alright, so we're using June's column now. there was 3 out of 15 chance to get mud, and we got mud. Unbelievable. Some of these turns, some of these months use another month's chart. See remarks. And that's what they're talking about here. Unbelievable. July will have one at most. Well, we're going to be out of June, so they're at most for having here. Well, they've achieved that. We either rolled a 10, a 14, or a 15. I don't know what to say. This is just, I don't know. Well, what are the odds that we get mud in July for the first week? At most, right? At most. There will be at most one mud turn per weather zone during the turns from 19 to 30 September. Yeah, so we could definitely have a mud turn next per weather zone. Wow, so per weather zone, this could have been mud and this could have been clear, but we roll. Look at that. North Soviet zone is clear, South Soviet zone is clear, but where our entire front falls upon, it's mud. I think the Soviets have developed weather control technology and are using it against us. I wish I could have something better to show you all. I wish I could conduct an offensive, but wishing isn't going to get us anywhere. It will be, I mean, this is worse than 1941 because we had clear weather all through 1941. All of this was clear. June 22nd. Don't know what to say. Except rinse and repeat from the last 3 turns. This will be the 4th. And maybe next turn we'll have something to talk about that's different than mud conditions. We'll end it here, and I'll conduct all the administrative moves that I've been doing. Will we come back for clear weather to talk about plans? No, there's no change really. There's absolutely no. Oh, look. Very, very adventurous. Well, it's going to be clear weather, so that's not going to end well for these two, a brigade and a cavalry division. Did they try that anywhere else? Oh, where is that buildup down here? Let's take a look at it. Yeah, they massed up to attack and then they fell back, which it's a good strategy for the Soviets because defending in depth is the way to go for them because we have to get through the first line and then we meet the second line of resistance. And then more often than not, we just force the Soviets to withdraw onto the waiting Soviet division directly behind it, and now they have 2 Soviet divisions to attack, and our German forces are exhausted from the first attack. So, very good strategy. Just looking here. Well, why look? We know what it looks like. All right, I'm going to end it here. Thank you for watching. This is First Fire, non-assault, move out.